Armi San Marco. Pretty big box here. What could it be? A walker maybe? Not quite. Alright, have another old replica to talk about here. This one is made by Armi San Marco. It's a copy of the Remington new model pocket revolver. These were originally made by Remington between 1865 and 1873. It's a 5-shot 31 caliber revolver. And this one's made by Armi San Marco. And Armi San Marco, they were in business from about the 60s to about the year 2000 when they went out of business. And this one was made, the date code is, if it'll focus, BI, which means this one was made in 1997. And Armi San Marco, they had kind of a reputation for somewhat spotty quality control over the years. The early ones were great from what I understand, but after that, quality started to suffer a bit. And this one is, well, it's okay. I mean, it's finished pretty nicely, except for certain things like the trigger guard here. I mean, there's a huge gap where the trigger guard meets the frame. Well, that shouldn't be there. That should be a pretty practically non-existent line there. And from what it looks like, it left the factory that way. It doesn't look like it's been damaged over the years or anything like that. That looks like how it left the factory, which is kind of eh. This side's better, but this side is pretty awful. And also what I noticed with this revolver is that the hammer is binding up somewhere. I'm not really sure where. It's binding up somewhere on the frame. So it doesn't exactly drop very smoothly. But other than those two little issues, it's not a bad looking little revolver. One thing I want to note about these brass framed replicas, for the most part, nobody really made brass frame revolvers back in the 1800s. There was a couple exceptions, but Colt, Remington, the big companies, they never made revolvers with brass frames. So these replicas aren't exact copies of anything that was actually made in the 1800s. One of the few exceptions is this one, because Remington back in 1865 did make their very early production pocket models like this with brass frames. They only made a few of them, not many, but they did make them. So this is actually one of the replicas that is an actual copy of something that was really made with a brass frame back in the 1800s. Anyway, enough history. Let's go to shoot this thing. Alright, this thing loads just like any other reproduction percussion revolver. I'm going to use a flask with, it's got a 10 grain spout. So pour 10 grains of black powder in there. And a little tiny 31 caliber lead ball. These are actually sized 3-2-1 to give it a nice tight fit in there. Put it on there, ram it down, there it goes, and it shaved a nice little ring of lead off of that, which means it's a good fit. And with these, I'm going to give it a little bit of grease on top. That helps lube the chamber and helps prevent chain fires too. So just a little bit of grease to top off the chamber there. And I'm going to load up the other 4, cap it, and we'll get to shooting. Alright, we're only about 5 yards away from the target here, which is plenty far away for this thing here. Okay, let's see how we do here. not too surprised about the misfire there, the way the hammer drags on the frame here. Kind of expecting that to happen anyway. Alright, let's go look at the target. Alright, I was aiming here, and that hit up there, so that's a good, I don't know, about 6 inches high or so, at 5 yards, 6 yards. Alright, these guns are not powerhouses. From what I've read, they're about as powerful as like a .22 long rifle out of a short-barreled gun. So I'm curious to see what it does against this water jug here. I'll bet it goes in one side but won't come out the other. Let's give it a try. We're about, maybe about 8 feet away or so. Let's see what happens. And a misfire, of course. Yeah, it wasn't a very good hit. And it did actually go through, but it hit way up near the handle. There's a hole on the other side there, so it did go all the way through, but I was hoping to hit a little lower. I'll try it again. Let's try again, aiming a little lower this time. There we go, that's a good center hit. Yeah, once again, it went all the way through. There's the entrance hole and exit hole in the back. So, it did go all the way through, surprisingly. I went down to the impact area and was actually able to find one of the projectiles. And you can see the rifling engraving on there. Kind of cool. So anyway, that's about it. The Armi San Marco reproduction of the Remington new model pocket revolver.